afternoon and welcome to the second episode of the West Midlands People Podcast with myself, Ashley Wright, and my colleague John Morris, both from Westray Recruitment Group. And today's guest is Tom Preece.
Hey, and Tom, you okay?
Yeah, not too bad. John, yourself?
Yeah, good, very good. It's good to have another fellow Midlander on with us.
We'll lower the tone a little bit more, won't we, mate?
I need the translator for today.
Ash, you're learning now.
I am.
You're learning.
I know what a gamble is now.
You know what Kpis is, or is that one from your end?
Kpis, that used to be a game I used to play when I was little. I used to bounce the ball off the curb.
Yeah.
See, that's a UK-wide use. That's a UK-wide use term.
Well, Tom, thanks for joining us today. Obviously, as Ash said, second guest on the show. So it's kind of like just set the tone for the podcast. If you'd like, just tell the viewers a bit about yourself and what you do at Action Coach.
Yeah, so at Action Coach, I am the business development manager of Action Coach Birmingham. Action Coach is the #1 business coaching firm in the world, and that is a fact. It ain't just me plucking that out there. It is an actual fact. And we're still one of the privately owned businesses by our founder and owner, Brad Sugars, which is such a great thing he's so heavily involved still, so that's a great thing.
But before that as well, this is why I was really keen to get you on the show, Tom, because I know obviously now you're working for Action Coach, but before Action Coach, you had your own recruitment business. So you've experienced the same struggles that John and I are currently experiencing. And also before that, you worked within the prison service, didn't you? So I'm sure you've got a varied but interesting story to tell.
Yeah, you could say that. It depends how far you can go into it on these chats.
As long as there's no swearing.
We can edit.
Yeah, we'll edit. So talk to us about kind of what you're finding at the minute. Obviously, COVID aside, I think we're all sick of hearing about COVID right now, but in your role and what you're doing, what are the positives that you're seeing at the minute in the economy, in the market, and just within the businesses that you're working with?
Bloody hell, how long you got? So in the obviously, because we help every single business, whatever size business, from even just a thought in somebody's mind of a business through to your corporate level, and then all sectors. You'd be very surprised of sectors that we have helped and businesses that we have helped. I've seen obviously a massive take on of startups, which to me is great, especially in the Birmingham region, because at the end of the day, the startups, I think SMEs make up 99.9% of the business population, something around that figure. So I think we need the startups there. I know a lot of businesses have been pushed into it. Well, a lot of people have been pushed into starting the business, but we've seen dramatic growth, especially across the digital marketing sector. Obviously, everything we've been pushed. We knew it was going online, and we knew the world was going to be online more so in the next probably 2 to 5 years. But now we've been pushed into it, so that's boomed. The recruitment industry, speaking to several recruitment firms, that they've still continued to grow, which seems a bit silly because people are being made redundant and things like that. But that comes with the restructured, the rejig their companies, the companies who are recruiting. So they've found probably, like, for example, digital marketers, they've had to recruit for that role. Social media people, they've had to recruit for that role. So I've seen probably the startups, SMEs, more so, and that's probably down to me speaking to those businesses more than the corporates. But there's been I see there's been a growth, and there's been an increase in businesses starting and doing well. Obviously, from help from us, that is.
It's a strange time, Tom, isn't it? And I think a lot of people, I've got friends within the recruitment industry who've gone and set up on their own, and I think with the amount of people that have been made redundant or have had to have a rethink on the career, I think it's right what you say. A lot of people think, you know what, it might be a bit of a strange time to do it, but why not? And it's great that you offer that service to be able to support those type of individuals and those businesses.
Yeah, I think, to be honest as well, with ourselves, having a recruitment firm and starting it from nothing and then building it up, if I knew the support that Action Coach offered then, that would have helped me really kickstart the business from the day dot, basically. So what my role is basically to reach out to every single business out there, small and large, to say that we're here to support you and guide you. And it's not all about cost. We give out so much complimentary support, workshops, etc. It's just getting into their heads that this is complimentary. Take it, because at the end of the day, we all love something free, especially if it's great value. So that's the hard bit at the moment. It's just getting across, because when you offer somebody something free, straight away alarm bells are like, well, what's the underlying thing here?
Where's the catch?
Yeah, exactly. So I've seen the growth, and I know it will continue. People have been pushed into it, but if you can make it through COVID or make it through these times now, then you're set. you're fine.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're hoping to tell ourselves as well, isn't it, John? We're a few months in now, and I was just having a conversation with my mum earlier on. And for those of you that don't know, my mum's our managing director. And I was having a conversation with her really, and I was saying that John and I are both missing that buzz of having the anxiety of a client ringing you at kind of the very last minute asking for 10 or 20 staff, and you're thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And it is a hard slog at the minute, isn't it? I mean, just trying to get in contact with people, but we're just cracking on, and I think we're kind of building the foundations for the new year now, and hopefully things are going to really kick off, because the conversations you're having, John, with businesses have been great, haven't they?
Yeah, you know, it's like I say, a lot of people might look at us and think, oh, you know, you're coming and setting up in the Midlands during the midst of a pandemic, but I see a lot of opportunity in that, and the positive conversations I've had, certainly, you know, for the start of next year, is really, really encouraging. So it's a strange time, but it's exciting, and it does, you know, amidst all the frustrations and everything else that goes on around us, we've still got a lot of focus and a lot of excitement there as well. You know, it keeps the blood pumping round nice and well. So, you know, and I can imagine people who speak to yourself, Tom, who are like, you know, have got that, how can I put it, the potential worry of starting up their own business. And like you said, if you've got that support there from the offset, and you know you've got that there, then that must give a little bit of comfort to those people as well, and be able to educate them. So your experience of setting up your own business seems to really have paid off.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's all about the support that is there for them, and because I've got the experience in it. I'm not a business coach, but I've had my own business, so I've got business knowledge, and I've been there right at the very bottom and built it up. And the business is still running now, so it's not like I've built it up and it's failed. So I've got the experience there. But I think across all the sectors and across all the size businesses, everybody's come to the same position now, which, good or bad, however you want to look at it, everybody is now planning again. So a lot of companies, especially your bigger companies, they've probably had 3-5 year business plans in place, that you can chuck them out the window now, because you need to go back to the drawing board, because you need to plan for 2021 and ahead, and that's what we've seen happening now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're planning for 2021 as well. We have a meeting in a few weeks with all of our different departments to plan, well, the last quarter of our financial year, but 2021 in general, because I think everything that's gone on this year has thrown any plans out of the window. But I think it's a good opportunity for businesses to reevaluate and expand and diversify. And from my perspective, I think whilst COVID in 2020 has been a terrible year for many, many people, I think there are a lot of positives to take from it as well. Dare I say that without getting any grief from people? But it's true, and I think I've changed my mindset this year, where I'm thinking, look at the positives out of every situation. So rather than dwelling on the negatives and feeling sorry for yourself and woe is me, I'm thinking, like, what's the positive we can take from that, and what can we do differently? And for us, it's worked, and we've had to make some difficult decisions this year. We've made redundancies, but we've been able to bring a couple of those people back. But without having gone through that, we probably wouldn't be in the strong position that we are now. And it is tough. It is really tough. So talk to us about your recruitment business when you had it then, Tom.
The way it started, opportunity come around, me and my business partner, which was a family member, and we set up because his background and experience was all recruitment, and I'd been on the other side of the table, if you like. I'd worked for recruitment firms in regards to whereas temp, manufacturing, etc. So we thought, why not bring both heads together? And he had things that he didn't like was happening in the firms he was working with and working in, and I didn't like the way that recruitment agencies had treated me in the past. So I bring them both together, try and make a nice company where people on both sides of the table get comfort and they know that it's a good company. So we built it up and we covered the general sector. So if you ask for a scientist, I'd advise you that I've not got the expertise in it, but I'll do my best if you want me to go and look out for it. So as you know yourselves, you've got job advertisement boards which you can search these people, depending on what the client wants and if they're agreeing to terms, conditions, etc., then you go down different avenues. But because we covered that, I thought it was we had a good structure. Our problem, I think personally, was for 3 years we didn't have a business plan. We every year we were so surprised how well we was doing without an actual plan, because people kept banging on, you need a plan, but we were doing well. So it was like, why do we need one? It got around to probably the 3rd year, and then can't swear on here, so something hit the fan basically, and it was like, what we're going to do now, what direction do we both want to go? I saw that I wanted more the permanent side, so we kind of, without branching off into 2 businesses, we had the temp, one was looking after temps more than the perm, and one was looking after perm more than temps, and that was working. The problem was the 2 visions. My vision was completely different to his, and it was just the right time to part ways. He's been in that industry and he's always been in that industry, and he loves it still. He's got passion for it. I hadn't. I'd fell out of that. Well, I hadn't fallen in love with the industry, so it was easier to part that way. I've always been a hands-on person, so I kind of, not being big-headed, but I can kind of jump into a role and I'll work hard and make that role my own and do it. So that's what I went and did. And well, saying that's what I did, Glenn, who's my director, Glenn Cameron, he was part of the B&I group that I was part of, and he basically offered me a package which couldn't really turn down. 1, being working with yourself, but 2, also action coach, because further down the line, it's nice to say you work for the number 1 in the world. So whatever industry and whatever business that is, it's nice to say that. So that's it in a nice quick nutshell of where I was at and the reason I got out.
So you just said that you never had a business plan, and every year you and your business partner were shocked at how well you were doing and didn't think the need to have a business plan was there. Do you, looking back, do you regret that? And do you think actually if you had a business plan, you possibly could have done better than you did, or were you happy with how that was? And just thinking for those people who might be in a similar situation to you, who, because I'll be honest, I'm the type of person, I just wing things. So I don't always like a lot of planning, and John knows this because for me it's too admin intensive. I'm kind of just get on and do it, crack on and see how you get on, and I have to be reined in a little bit by my team to try and make me more focused on coming up with a plan. But with your experience of not ever having one, do you think that benefited or hindered you?
Massively hindered, massively. Being truthful, probably I might still be there now if we had a plan. We got to a point where it wasn't turning over to the amount where you could justify having 2 directors on board, where you're not kind of making that and you both got 2 visions. So everything was kind of parting ways. So if I could go back to it, I'd have a plan, at least a 12-month plan from day dot, 100%. And that's probably more so from working with Action Coach and working for Action Coach, because we're all coached ourselves. We've all got our own coaches as well. So when we're planning for our futures at the same time. So I might work for Action Coach, but I'll still put a plan together for what I want later in life as well, which is the same with business. At the end of the day, what did you get into business for? What's your vision? Where do you want to go with the business? Do you want to grow it for 12 years and then sell? Do you want to grow it for 5, get a few quid out of it, sell up and start a new business? So I think you've got to really look at your vision from the start and then reevaluate at least a minimum every 12 months. In the current climate, I'd say every 6 months, you need to be looking at your business plan.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a great piece of advice. Something I should take on board more. I work with a business coach and he's always telling me that, well, yeah, I just don't like planning. I'm just kind of like, get up in the morning, crack on. I know what I need to do and I'm just going to do whatever it takes to get there.
I think that's to be honest, that's not a bad thing though. And I really believe that because I'm exactly the same. And touch wood, it ain't done as bad as it really. Let's face facts. So as long as you're hardworking and willing to put your full effort in, you're halfway there. Add the planning to it and you'll be a millionaire. Simple as that.
Well, that's the plan.
No
Fingers
pressure.
crossed. Yeah, no pressure, John. No pressure at all. So what advice for those people who are considering a coach or for those who don't have one and they think that, well, because I suppose before I started working with a coach, I thought, well, what would you get? What benefit? In my head, I thought, I've got my mum. My mum's my boss, but she's my best friend as well. I don't need to go anywhere else, but it completely changed my life in so many ways. So what advice would you give to those people who are possibly considering one or the cynics out there who don't think that they're worth the time or investment?
Yeah, I think, well, you've probably touched on most points that I'm going to say now there. So the first one is obviously you've got a good coach because they've covered all them aspects with you because they're there not just to say you need to do this or this would be better. So as people may know, may not know, coaches and consultants are completely two different people. We're coaches, and the reason we're coaches, we'll listen to what you want, where you want to go, your visions, your missions, and we'll help you along that way to get to them. A consultant will tell you to do it and tell you how to do it. So you need to be sure of what you want. Me personally, I'm not somebody who would be able to be told, and I'm sure I'll probably go as far as 75% of people are not. Nobody likes to be told what to do. So with a business coaching, the first thing when I had my company was they're too expensive. I thought they were going to tell me what to do and that my business is crap. And the other thing is as well that they initially people just think actually it's just a waste of money because they don't see the bigger picture of it. So I recommend just having a conversation. Most business coaches up and down the country, if not all of them, will offer and allow you to have 30 minutes or an hour free consultation, free coaching session. And that's, I'd probably say 100% of coaches up and down the country will always honour that because you need that conversation with them because they'll open your mind of what exactly they can help you do and support you with because it's not about the money. For ourselves at Action Coach Birmingham, we've set up a funnel where people can dip the toe in the water rather than go full hog. If you want to jump in at the deep end and go at it, brilliant, fantastic. You're guaranteed to make the steps in, and we guarantee that you'll make that money back on your bottom line. As soon as you've tried and tried, tested and seen the benefits of a coach, you'll go back. You'll go back constantly.
I agree 100%. I wouldn't be able to live without David now. He's just absolutely amazing. And David works with our senior management team and our business as a whole as well. And since he started working with our entire business, we saw we saw the turnover go up. We saw the team dynamics change because he came and did a lot of work with us on the team. He's profiled the business and it's been great. It's been a great learning exercise. And he's Northeast based, but it sounds like what he offers is quite similar to what you do at Action Coach as well. I would highly recommend anyone looking at considering it to definitely take the plunge. And it can be a lot of money, but it is a worthwhile investment because it's in yourself and on the business. So before recruitment, you worked in the prison service, didn't you?
Briefly, yes.
Briefly.
Yeah. Briefly, reason being is because I set up the opportunity to come around to set up a recruit.
Very different then, prison service to recruitment, two very different industries. And I'm interested to know more about that, Tom, because that's something I've done a lot of work with prisons up in the Northeast. And I've worked with all of the northeast-based prisons, doing workshops with the guys, helping them transition to being released from jail into the workplace. What was your kind of, I guess, your take on that whole, well, the system in general, I suppose? Because for me, I saw a lot of flaws in it and found it quite hard to help these men and women who are coming out of jail to try and get them into employment because of the stigma attached to the fact that they've been in jail. What's your sort of take on the system and how it works, and what we as business owners can do to make that transition easier?
Oh, Nate, geez.
Opened up a can of worms here.
There's some questions there, right there.
John, you can possibly help with this one as well, being an ex-copper.
No comment.
I got on with John until he said he was an ex-copper. Do you want me to, John, do you want to go first, or?
I think I've had some dealings, like you say, Ash. I mean, I've had some dealings with some of the open prisons before, and there is a stigma attached to it. And some of our clients I had at the time were a bit apprehensive about it, but it did actually end up working quite well, and there were some success stories built from it. But I totally get, why some people may have that stigma. But I think the system, there's probably not enough said about it. One, everyone's got a different story, and I suppose my apart from the part in recruitment that I played with these ex-offenders, I suppose my job in the past was actually, I suppose in one word of another, is locking the people up. So my interaction with them was very transactional, in the case that you've done something wrong, there you go, you're arrested, you're interviewed, you go to court. And that was kind of the end of the journey for me. What happens afterwards, I suppose, Tom, you might be able to add more on to that and know more about the characters that, for one reason or another, maybe reformed. And then, so, unfortunately, I can't offer too much on that because, like I say, I was at the business end of it where we were kind of like, right, okay, there you go. And then they're in prison.
I think it's probably you probably shouldn't have asked me this, because this is a subject I'm like overly passionate about.
Yeah.
You and I both, Tom, you and I both.
I think not just business owners, but our country as a whole, that we label people too quickly. Yes, especially we're talking about offenders or ex-offenders here. They've done something wrong, yes. But before you make a judgment on them that they can't do the role that they're applying for, have the conversation with them. Depending on obviously the crime, put the crime aside. Take advantage of what for example, a drug dealer or somebody of that kind of person, that they've probably got one of the better business minds than us, because they had setups where they had lads or girls or whatever running for them, doing this, doing that. So they've got a business mind there. All they need is that they need that support there. And don't get me wrong, some of them, a lot of them won't want that and won't take that up. But there is some out there who do want it and are not given it because of these other people. So in regards to the prison environment, there's a lot that prisons are doing. There's a lot that is in there for them. I think the system is set up for them to fail and go back inside, because they offer the workshops and they make sure that they go to work and they make sure that they do this and do that, pass these accreditations. But when they come out, I know it through friends and people who I know have come out and they're just chucked out. They have a probationer, but the probationers are only able to do a certain amount. They're only given a certain amount of stuff that they can give to you. For example, I know somebody who come out of prison and he was put into one of the worstest parts of West Brom. Sorry. What are you asking that person to do? To me, you're asking that person to fail and go back inside, because drugs are on your doorstep, prostitution, crime, everything's there on your doorstep, and you're putting somebody who's just done that into that environment. You can go around in circles all day long, because there is the positives and negatives, and I just think not just the youngsters, all ages who have committed crime. There needs to be some sort of funnel, like we're doing at Action Coach for the businesses. There needs to be some sort of funnel where you're getting them slowly back into work and offering them the opportunities. If they chuck that back in your face, then they've done it, but at least you've tried. If we're not helping and not giving them the opportunity, how do we know they're going to succeed? I think the one last thing in regards to like the prison environment, I bear in mind I was only in there a short, brief time, and I saw the most cleverest people I've ever come across in my life in there. Why aren't we in this country? Why aren't we using that to our strengths? Why isn't the government, these hackers that are being sent there, why isn't the government using these for good? Take good, but using them, you know what I mean? Use their skills.
If you watch all the films, they do. In Hollywood, they do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the criminals, yes, but they've done this, and they're very, very clever people. That they look at life differently to us, and bring that together. And at the end of the day, you could be back in where the country was tens of thousands of years ago, you know what I mean, where we was a solid country. But that's a massive picture, and that could go on, but it'll go on for decades and decades. So,
and I agree with everything you've said, and I think that business owners, if they're making the decision to employ someone who's either been in jail or has a criminal conviction, I think they need to look at the bigger picture as well. And what I found when I was working with all of the Northeast based prisons, and my mum did the same with us as well, we went down to Kirklev and we interviewed a number of the guys that were inside there, and some of their stories are absolutely horrendous and awful, and you think, is it any wonder they went down that route? And now they're trying to sort themselves out, but today's society is making it difficult for them. And my heart goes out. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people my heart does not go out to, but there are a lot of people that it still does, and I think we all need to work together to try and aid them, and ultimately it's going to make communities safer. Because the one thing that'll make people reoffend, the things that'll make people reoffend are having no money, no house, and no job. So I think us as a community in general, or the UK in general, needs to do more to come together to try and help these people and just aid them. And I just felt it makes me feel really sad, because I know I've had a lovely upbringing. I was born into a lovely family, haven't had to want for nothing. And I wonder, had my life not been the way it was, and had I come from a poorer social background, then you never know. I could have ended up in the same way. You just don't know, do you? So
I think my passion with that, with this subject, it comes down to where I grew up from as well. I grew up in a council estate. We used to call it the shameless estate, and it was like that. And I could have easily gone one direction or another, easily. I don't know what got. Well, you thank your parents and things like that that guided you in the right direction. But it would be so easy to go down that wrong path. And I think that's what, if I can help 1-2 people prevent that, then obviously doing something good there.
We should come together once lockdown's over, Tom. You and I should come together and put our heads together and see how we can potentially do something down here like that, because I stopped doing it up in the Northeast for various reasons related to business. But I absolutely loved doing it, and it does make you feel really just like you're giving something back, doesn't it? So we'll get our heads together on that, Tom, and we'll do something. So Tom, kind of in general then, you're working with a lot of different businesses right now, different industry sectors. What advice do you have for retaining and kind of developing staff?
If it's a company where they want to employ a member of staff and they want to train them up, go down the apprenticeship route. There's fantastic kids out there, even adults who are starting out, who want to succeed, and they are brilliant. So for that side, if you want to boost your business, then do that. But in regards to staff that you've already got, I don't think you need to spend a lot of money, if anything, depending on the size of your team, don't get me wrong. For example, it's a case of sitting down and having a meeting each week, I think, and that leadership level coming from the top, and proof from the top that they're working their backside off at the same time. Because straight away, the development of your team, then it'll get into their heads that actually he's or she's working very hard, so why aren't I doing that extra 10%? But in regards to like progression and the upskilling and things like that. There's that many online courses out there that are easily accessible. So you haven't, in these times now, you haven't got to have people to come into your workplace. They can do them while they're working at home. You can keep a track of that because you can get an online portal or whatever it is usually attached to these courses. So you can see what each member of your staff's done, if they've opened the documents, if they've watched the video. So I think there's plenty out there of the online world.
Definitely. And I think it's important more than ever at the minute to invest in your staff as well and keep them on board, because if you have a good solid member of staff that becomes unhappy or feels undervalued, it's going to cause an issue to try and replace. Because at the minute, good staff, some of them aren't wanting to leave businesses either because of COVID, and they're scared to leave a role and then go elsewhere. So it is tough at the minute, but I think that's great advice, definitely.
So I think it goes back to the saying about, if you look after your staff will look after the business for you.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. So I think if you're an employer and you're looking at your staff now that are currently in place, you need to be monitoring. For example, if it's a sales team, you need to be monitoring KPIs. You need to be seeing what they're doing. Yes, they might not be able to hit their figures, but it's what they're doing to try and hit the figures. Mm-hmm. Example, if it's administration, a member of staff, then you need to make sure that they're up to date on their tasks, that they're keeping up to date on there, and things that are happening. I think it's all about having a look over the shoulder, but also an arm round them at the same time, is to remind them that they are they're worth everything to this business, and they are what we want. Because I think as soon as you show a bit of a disinterest into your staff, the performance levels just drop immediately. Mm-hmm. As silly as it sounds, and I'm not saying that all business owners need to go out there and spend money every Friday and order pizzas in for the staff, but just once a month, something like that, where you say, here you go, kind of thing. What do you want for lunch? Because let's face facts, the business owners at the top, they've got a few quid, and they're going to have a few quid. And if they haven't, then fair enough. But 9 times out of 10, they've got a few quid. So what's 100 quid spent on a lunch for all of your staff on a Friday once a month? Because
I'm looking at the minute. I've only got John. I bought John and I pizza on Friday.
Well, there you
go.
So even in that situation, like at the end of the day, if I was in the pub with my friend, I'd buy him a beer. So why wouldn't you, as a business owner, buy your member of staff a bottle of wine at the end of the month for saying well done?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, definitely. No, that's great.
Small, simple things. That's probably the key.
Yeah. And what do you love? So this is the West Midlands People Podcast, Tom, and we're asking everyone who comes on the show, what do you love about the West Midlands?
I'll jump in. It's something that I think we're Birmingham itself, so the West Midlands region anyway, but Birmingham itself are pushed out very often, and not given the credit. We're evolving as a city very, very quickly. For example, you're having companies from London build their headquarters into the city centre. That just says a lot to me. So I think the evolving of the city and the infrastructure, etc., that's something to be very proud of being in the West Midlands.
Yeah, because I think many moons ago it was an industrial giant, huge. Yeah. But like obviously with all the canals that we've got, obviously back in the past when they were pulling all the coal and everything else on the canal, towpaths and everything else like that, and the birthplace of a lot of industry. Birmingham's, a lot of people say Birmingham's at its heyday, but like you said, there is more investment in the region now, which is really, really positive. And I think certainly during my lifetime, Birmingham's gone kind of like a bit topsy-turvy, but hopefully it's on an upward curve now.
Yeah, I agree. To be honest, John, exactly there, mate. It's been up and down. At the moment, it's looking like we're getting a lot of money put into the city, but I think West Midlands as a region, people have got to remember the smaller towns as well. For example, the Black Country. There's a lot that started out in the Black Country, and you've got to be very thankful for those smaller towns that are not possibly put on the map really, and they need that help of somebody saying, have you heard of the Black Country Museum, etc. So there's a lot to be offered from the smaller towns, other than just the Birmingham city centre itself as well.
Well, that's actually given me a thought. We'll get some businesses from those parts of the West Midlands onto the show to explain what's great about that part of the region as well, because I think, as I've said earlier, for me, before coming down here, the whole of the West Midlands was Birmingham. That just goes to show how terrible my geographical knowledge of this area is. But from conversations that I've had with you in the past, Tom, and with John as well, you realise how big it is, and that everyone, I guess it's just about shouting about all of the great places and how good the region is, and how much positivity that there is, and that it doesn't have to all be about London, and that you can have some of the limelight as well. And of course it's on the up because Westray moved into the West Midlands, so right, well, Tom, it's been fabulous having you here. Is there anything else you would like to say before we let you go?
I don't know, how much can I pitch? No, to be honest with you, as I've just touched on, genuinely, it doesn't matter if the business is a thought in your mind at this moment in time. Reach out to myself or reach out to one of our coaches that actually coach Birmingham, because it costs nothing to have a chat, and we all love something for free. And if we can give you something of great value for free, then why not take it? So the support is there. Don't bury your head in the sand, and plan for 2021.
Excellent, thank you.
So yeah, thanks very much for today, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for having me on. Really appreciate that.